Welcome back to our series looking at biblical lessons from lockdown. A simple encouragement today: stand firm and stand your ground. In a well-known passage, Ephesians 6:10-18, Paul describes the armour of God. And Paul explicitly wrote that the purpose of investing ourselves with the divine armour, he wrote, is in verse 11, so that we can take our stand against the devil's schemes. In this short passage, Paul emphasized the need to stand or withstand 4 times. But what does this mean for us in lockdown? Well, there are many usages of and references to the phrase stand your ground or terms like stand firm. But I want to focus on just one that may be relevant for us at this unprecedented time. It is the story of Moses and the Israelites trapped between Pharaoh's forces and the Red Sea. It is found in Exodus 14 verses 10 to 14, particularly verses 13 and 14. And if you feel locked in by your circumstances, this will be very applicable for you. When Pharaoh and his army were thundering toward the children of Israel, who were hemmed in by the Red Sea, the people felt trapped and terrified. And so they cried out for divine intervention. But their fear then mutated into anger toward Moses. Because they were filled with fear, the people could never have imagined that God was about to do something miraculous for them. With terror clouding their thoughts, the Israelites didn't know that God was going to use this very circumstance to demonstrate His glory. Little did they realize that this seeming tragedy was about to become one of the defining moments in their history as a people. And against this backdrop, we then read Moses' heroic words. Do not be afraid, stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you, you need only be still. Exodus 14 verses 13 and 14. So rather than being riddled with fear, Moses told them to adopt a different posture. Stand firm. Now naturally this doesn't mean that he wanted the people to literally stand rigid and not move a muscle. It was more to do with the posture of their hearts. Standing firm speaks of an inward disposition of resolve, determination, strength, courage, endurance, and faith. Moses did not say, stand firm, into a vacuum, as if it depended upon dogged human willpower. On the contrary, he told them to stand firm by focusing on what God was about to do. For he said, stand firm and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. So what does stand firm mean in our context? It means consciously resisting the natural impulse to fear by giving no place to fear, anxiety, or fretting. It means depending upon God's strength to bring us through. It means expecting divine intervention because something beyond natural ability is needed. It means trusting unreservedly in God's love and power. It means adopting an inward attitude of absolute, unshakable resolve and steadfastness. The outcome was that the Lord made a miraculous way through the Red Sea. God sent a strong east wind to drive the sea back so that the body of water was divided. With walls of water on either side, the Israelites crossed through the dried out seabed on dry ground. Not long after, the Egyptians tried to cross the dried out ocean floor in pursuit. But once the Israelites had crossed, however, God wreaked havoc with the Egyptian forces. He threw them into confusion, flicked the wheels off their chariots. Then he commanded Moses to once again stretch out his hand, and the waters began to return to their normal place. And Pharaoh and his forces tried to retreat, but they all drowned. Verse 28 says, not one of them survived. And what we learn from this account is that the impassable and the impossible are no obstacles for God. God can make a way where there is no way. He uses the supernatural to make the natural do His will and purpose. He is a God of purpose, power, and love. No matter what we're facing, even if we're locked in by our circumstances, we need to stand firm because our God is a deliverer. So my simple encouragement this week is stand your ground.